Hello, podcast listeners. We take a look back at all the episodes that have come out of JJ Meets World in 2018. The heartbreak and the humor and the death. Everything that's taken place on these microphones in the last year. Plus, Tucker and I involve a really weird rating system for how we enjoy things by the amount of burps that we can have during each of these. Because don't look at me like that. You burped a lot during this entire episode. Also, by the way, patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld is a great way to get your year-end giving taken care of. We're not a 501c3, so you can't write it off. But come on, prime the pump of this economy. Do you see where the Dow Jones is right now? Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I don't know all the words to Auld Lang Syne, but I know some of them. Like, lift a glass of kindness is one of those things that's in it. But I think it's one of those songs that is a universally loved song because people think about it as this fresh start. It's associated with New Year's, and everyone likes New Year's because New Year's is associated with babies. And really most people like babies, especially ones they don't have to care for on the regular. And I started to think recently, it's almost a year since we started recording this podcast.
Getting close to it. I think we're about 3 months away, roughly.
From the release, right? But
that's true. Oh, yeah.
We started recording in January.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, you're right.
And so I look outside at the giant snowdrifts and they remind me of starting this podcast with you. And this is episode 79.
Yep.
Wow. And so we'll have 80 episodes by just barely after the new year.
By this next Thursday.
Good for us.
Right?
Congratulations.
And do you remember one of the first conversations we had when we were talking about doing this was, let's give it a year and then decide in a year if we want to keep going. So it's a year later. Do you want to keep making more episodes?
I think that we should.
I think that we absolutely will.
I think we should add a cooking segment to the show.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Full of cooking, sizzling sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think we should add a boxing section where we bring 2 other people in and have them fight, and we record the sound of that.
I like the sound of that.
Be like JJ Meets World Fight Club.
Yeah. There's something about the way a jaw sounds when it snaps. So let's get a little let's look at ourselves from where we were a year ago to today. There have been some pretty major changes that have taken place for both of us.
Absolutely.
I'll start.
Go for it.
Because I'm the host. But in all honesty, like, this show's called JJ Meets World, but it's really the both of us. In fact, you do more work for this than I do.
Well, I think ultimately, we've always said you're the host and I'm the producer, but ultimately we're co-producers because we both take on producing duties for different things in the show. And then when it comes to the show itself, you're the host and I'm the co-host. And I think that's really the way that it works.
We have a really yin and yang thing.
Yeah, it works really, really nicely. And yeah. So, but I love doing the work that I get to do. And the thing was when I was going, God, I'd really like to be able to work on something that's mine. You know, I'm putting in all this energy for the other people's projects, but what could be done on a regular basis during a busy life where you're trying to, put food on the table and make sure your bills are paid and all that other stuff. And then I realized I've been listening to a lot of podcasts this year, and the ones that I like the most are the ones that are hangouts. The ones where it's usually stand-up comedians, but there are a few other ones that aren't, where you get like an hour or two with guests and you get to be in the room while they have long-form conversations that aren't interrupted by commercial breaks or morning zoo crew sound effects.
Wah, wah, wah.
Right. And then I thought, well, what would I do if I produced one? Well, I would never be the host of it. I don't want to be the host of one. If I think of Joe Rogan, I want to be the Jamie, the young Mr. Jamie. And I thought, well, who should I... JJ. Like, it wasn't even really that much of a stretch to go, who would be the perfect host for something like that? Who could do the heavy lifting of being the energy behind the show? Because if it was just me talking to people, it wouldn't have the kind of driving force that the show has.
Oh, and you're just swell.
Thank you. So
let's talk about the things that have changed in my life since we started this. I'm married. Not only did I propose, plan, and execute a wedding during this time, but it was also about time. I had been with Jill for a long time, so we finally got hitched. I'm the host of an afternoon radio program on the most listened to station in the region.
Yeah.
I get to be doing that 11 to 2. And when I started the podcast, my name wasn't associated with the show. It was still some other guy who I was just filling in for. And so now it's officially branded with me, which is great because for a while there, the show was called It Takes Two and there were 3 people on it. And that's awkward.
And now It Takes Two is both a live radio show and a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it work that way?
So what we do is we take the interview segments that we do on the live show and then make them available to listen to afterwards.
Okay.
My personal opinion is that's technically not a podcast.
Okay.
It's not something that we create. We have a couple episodes that we've specifically created just for the web. One where we review Kentucky Fried Chicken's Chicken and Waffles. And another one where we talk with an industry leader about sex robots. But I did just win an award in our company for best podcast.
Ooh,
and
good job.
Here's the thing. So the company I work for, KFGO, is owned by another company called Midwest Communications, which owns stations across the country. Nashville, Wisconsin, of course, right here in North Dakota, Minnesota. And my show has the top podcasts for the entire company.
Awesome.
So across the board,
Sweet.
we're just this podcast medium has been calling my name.
Right.
And that's great.
Right.
I did a one-man show, Santaland Diaries, which is becoming our most through the roof firework episode ever. People are listening to it from everywhere.
So we're at I think we're at about 2,000 downloads for that one.
That's
and
amazing.
It's like that was just in a couple of days. And that's just when we get views, it's usually gradual, but that was a spike. And I've been going I've been trying to reason, what is it? How come people suddenly found that episode? Part of me thinks it's because Santaland Diaries is being produced all over the country. And so people are searching for it. So I'm thinking, well, maybe the next time we do a podcast, we'll call it Nude Pics, or Is This Cancer? Something that people are Googling, and then we'll get more views, or more downloads.
Right. American Girl Doll cheap would be another good episode.
Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
I guess it's not 1996.
So I've had some pretty big changes that have taken place in my life because of those choices that I made, and I'm loving life. I lost a lot of weight. I joined Jenny Craig, and that was great. I've put some of that weight back on over the holidays, but I'll have to
that's
shed
what the
that
holidays
off again.
are for.
They really are.
I mean, and that's why you then go to the gym after the first of the year.
It's no surprise that the number one New Year's resolution is to lose weight, and it's because you just spent from Thanksgiving to Christmas the fattest month of the year. Mm-hmm. You're putting, psychologically and geographically, if you live in our area, you're putting your winter weight on so that you can be protected with a layer of blubber to protect you. If you're in other areas, the anxiety and stress of Thanksgiving to Christmas is
no kidding.
peaked.
Yeah.
Also, it's the one time of the year where people are still really cooking with lard. Mm-hmm. Most of their Christmas treat recipes are like, a third of a cup of lard or a grandma's fist full of yard. So I think that weight is just one of those things that people deal with at this time of the year. Mm-hmm. And I'm not down on myself about it all because you got to live life, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when I hit the 45-pound mark in my weight loss, I am a different person.
Really?
I feel differently. My joints were better. Everything about it was just awesome. And so I feel like things are really coming around for me. And there have been some sad moments, and there's been some sadness from this last year. Just recently I attended a funerals for some people who have been a part of my life ever since I was born. And but that's kind of the circle of life, isn't it? I remember my grandmother died on Christmas Day, and she had a cardiac episode a couple of weeks before, and she had chosen to take the like air tube out, and they're like, well, it's only a matter of time. And I was finishing up a shift at Take Two Video, and I was going to go visit my grandmother. I got to the hospital just at the same time my mom did, and we were the first two people there. And my grandmother's neighbor, who had come over to wish her a very Merry Christmas, had come out and said, Alice passed like 5 minutes ago. And then the day of her funeral, there was a bomb scare at the Federal Building, which is right across the street from the church she attended. And so her funeral had to be moved at the last minute. And then they wrote about it in the paper about how like a funeral had to be moved. And I thought, this is what my grandmother would have loved.
Right.
Like all of this attention, like died on Christmas, funeral was moved because of a bomb scare. It made it into the paper. She would have just been tickled pink with that.
Right.
So I think sometimes people get the gloomies around this time of year, but I can't help but laugh.
Right.
How about you? What's happened for you in the last year?
2018 for me has been bananas.
BANANAS.
It has also been bonkers.
BONKERS.
It has also been Brachiosaurus. That's actually not a descriptive word anyway, so you get out of that one. But I think actually ultimately, though, in a lot of ways, it's been brutal. And in a good way. Like, I survived all of it. I, decided to leave my job in poker TV. I'd been doing it for, I want to say, 8 or 9 years. And I realized it was time for a change in my life. And then I was a freelancer for a while, which, if you've ever been a freelancer of anything, you know that is feast or famine. And there were a few feasts and a lot of famine. But then I was lucky enough to happen upon a job at my current place, Discovery Benefits, where I work on the marketing team as their video guy. And so my job is to show up each day and work with this really cool team of people and make videos for this company. And
a company which has a great corporate culture, as I'm to understand.
Oh, yeah. And they're huge, too. They've got a ton of employees. It's a nice place. I really like working there. I had a long-term relationship that came to an end. And, that there's always pain and sadness that goes with that, no matter what happens. But I feel like with all these major closings, chapter closings that happened for me this year, I've had a ton of new chapters start at the same time. So the new job, my mom is living out of town right now, and so I'm living in her house, and it's a pretty sweet deal to have your mom as your landlord. It's pretty awesome, man. And I get to hang out with her dog, which is one of my favorite creatures on the planet. And then I got this amazing opportunity to direct you in the Santaland Diaries, and which was one of the most creatively satisfying things I've ever worked on. And it went gangbusters locally. I mean, we sold out almost every show. I haven't checked in yet to find out what our sort of capacity percentage is, percentage of seats sold over the run. I'm hoping it's pretty high, just because that's a feather in the cap and just awesome. Just so cool that so many people embraced the show, embraced what you were doing, and came out to see it. And that was just fantastic. Also, today, it's tomorrow, today, as we're recording this, is the day before New Year's Eve. So it's New Year's Eve right now. I just got back into town a couple of hours ago. I went out to Kentucky, where my dad's side of the family is mostly located, for my cousin's wedding a few days before Christmas. I was supposed to come back this past Thursday, but we got hit with a massive blizzard.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like, how often does Fargo just get shut down? Not very often. We get blizzards and storms.
The movie theaters even shut down.
Yeah, everything just stopped. There were warnings saying, do not leave your home, right? And if you do, bring a survival kit. And so because of that, I didn't get to come home on Thursday. I spent a few extra days in Kentucky with family, and which was awesome. I really got to spend some really quality time with family members that I don't get to see very often. And then just got back a few hours ago. So I'm still processing all of that. But the biggest thing for me in the year 2018, bar none, has been JJ Meets World. Like, absolutely. Like, it's been, for me, like, wall-to-wall fun. even when it gets stressful, even when there's like, hey, like we gotta, oh my God, like we're running out of episodes and we gotta get a bunch more done because I pushed us into doing 2 episodes a week, which is tough, but I'm glad we do it. I'm really happy that we do it. And it's helped our show get better faster. And I think episodes keep getting better, and we're getting more listeners, and we're getting guests who come on with awesome stories. And I think there have been a ton of episodes that we've done this year where you and I made a new good friend. You know, we had guests come in that neither of us knew and or didn't maybe know super well, and then we're friends with them now, and we got to know them.
Off the top of my head, I can say the Zenus Bear episode awoke me to something I had never even considered as far as content.
Right.
And so you should seek that episode out if you haven't listened to it, because for anything, the raw milk discussion that we have on it, I have brought into so many cocktail party conversations. You would be impressed.
Let me see. One of a crowd favorite episode has been an undertaking with Alex Rydell, who is an undertaker. I've known Alex since high school, but that one was super fascinating to me because I never really had insight into his world and the world of that profession. And that was, I mean, that was an episode that I think could have gone for a few more hours had we not had to stop it.
And I think we immediately after an undertaking came out, we were reached out to by a couple of different entities who said, would you ever be interested in my perspective as an undertaker? And I said, well, sure. We'll make that happen.
You should get an Undertaker roundtable or something like that.
Oh, there you go.
So how about this, JJ? So I've got in front of me the list of our episodes from this year. And I think I'm just going to read through them quick and maybe just a quick comment from each of us on each one.
Okay.
And that might help us structure this a bit. And then it'll be kind of like doing a quick oral history
I love this.
Of the year.
This is so much fun.
So we started with number 1, Follow That JJ, and our guest was Noel Scotch Anderson and his wife,
Tanya.
I was almost going to say Tamara. It's Tanya.
Tanya, who is the name of Fievel's sister, by the way, which I've had so many people come up to me and tell me that they prefer Fievel Goes West, just so you know, just so you're out there. What I like about episode number 1 is it sets the groundwork.
Right.
And it is drastically different from the show we produced today, which is fun. You see the growth and where we've come. And Scotch is such a creative person that hearing about his attempts to get into Mad Magazine and Cracked, really just top-notch stuff. And then he wrote our theme.
He wrote our theme song. And so, you know, how appropriate to have him on our very first episode. Number 2 was Drop Dead Kevin with Kevin Kennedy.
Talked about school shootings in that one. That one got real. That was our first one that had like a really serious conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, that, you know, thinking back to it's really cool that these guys would even come in and go, sure, I'll sit down and record a podcast with you, which you haven't made anything of it yet, which was pretty sweet of them to join. Number 3 was A Man Burning, our Burning Man episode with Christina Johnson and Mike Rezel.
That was a fun one, especially because we were able to do a follow-up to that later on. After they got back from Burning Man 2018.
Right. Number 4 was, for a while, our most downloaded episode, Girl Rush with Britta Nelson.
Britta Nelson.
Yeah.
That's the first one where I came to the show with a list of things where I said I'm gonna mention just to embarrass you on the podcast. And she was a real sport. Britta ended up coming on to one of the improvised episodes,
the very first
as well.
Improvised episode, yeah.
So
and she got mad at me when I didn't edit out her cursing at the beginning of singing that Jesus song that we used in Cat Licks.
Yep.
But I was like, of course I'm using that part. Why? No one told me I had to edit it out.
She was a little intoxicated when she recorded that for us.
Number 5 was the first episode where we thought, wow, we think we really have something here. That was Singular Disregard for Academia, and our 2 guests were Dr. David Winterstein, who's the director of theater at Concordia College, and we had actor Rich Sommer, who is best known for playing the character of Harry Crane on AMC's Mad Men.
Amongst other things, loved the Wet Hot American Summer series.
Devil Wears Prada.
He's all over the place. For us to get that big of a name on our 5th episode really goes to show how much we bothered people we know who know celebrities.
But, I mean, you know, we weren't a known thing yet locally. I mean, we didn't have a catalog of episodes out yet.
And here's something about Rich Sommer, too. He graciously took time away from visiting his friends to come and record this with us. So
and
that
he gets
really
real
nice.
in that one, too. I mean, he gets emotional. He gets choked up when he talks about...
Seeing
Equus and how it impacted him emotionally and really shaped his future. That is a really good episode. Number 6, Brent Brandt does not microwave his meat.
Brent Brandt was the first person who I reached out to saying, hey, can you be on a show tomorrow morning?
Brent Brandt.
And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And we get to talk movies, and Brent would love to. He tells me all the time about how much he'd love to come back.
He was a super fan for Santaland.
Mm-hmm,
We got to get him back on
saw
ASAP.
it 3 times.
Yeah, back on ASAP. Number 7, everyone knows it's Randy.
Oh, talking about self-care with Randy.
Hey, Olsen Heinhold, Esquire.
Heinhold?
Esquire. She just re-invited us onto her podcast.
Oh, we got to do that.
Yeah, we got to do that. So look forward to her podcast. The name of it, I cannot remember at the moment, but just, look for it.
Yeah. If you search Randy K. Heinold, you're going to come on her website, and then you'll hear it. And Randy also gives a nice little background about how she uses a blanket to record her podcast.
I wonder if we'll all be in the blanket then.
Oh, please.
Number 8, champion puzzler plus her boyfriend. That's Valerie Coit and Mike Schultz and their dog Winston.
This episode directly led to the North Dakota Jigsaw Puzzle Championship being created.
Yep.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just because someone got a real trophy, and now that's a thing now. That's amazing. Good for her. That one.
Number 9, our friend Jackson Spade was on our episode titled Exotic Pageantry.
I saw the movie Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And I had to admit to him that I actually finally liked one of the Transformer movies. And he's like, good. It's about time. And I'm like, yeah, it only took 5 movies and literally billions of dollars.
And he also used to work at a strip club as the DJ. So he gives us a good couple of samples of what that would be like. We celebrated episode number 10, Wizard Mode, with Fargo pinball impresario Bill Brooks and animated arcade aficionado Greg Carlson. First appearance of Greg Carlson.
The first of Greg Carlson, and as well as the first of Bill Brooks.
That's right, multiple guests.
Bill Brooks comes on later again in Tesla Time, which is episode probably something, and then his wife appeared on the show as well.
Right.
We also collected Greg's wife as well, so we've got all these husband and wife combinations.
Remind me when we come to Emily Brooks's episode. I have a question about Emily Brooks.
Ooh, okay.
I want to raise.
Okay.
Number 11. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, this didn't go as planned. This was the Rezel X episode. It was you, me, and Mike Rezel, and we talked about a movie that I tried to make, that I made, but, it was pretty bad in high school, called Rezel X, and the trials and tribulations and humiliations that came along with that.
I would like you to give me a number of people that would have to download an episode of this podcast for you to allow a one-time screening of this to take place.
Enough downloads to the point where we're doing this for a living.
Okay.
That's what it would take.
You hear that, MeUndies?
Yep. And MeUndies was like, we got to get a copy of that Rezel
Gotta
X.
get that going.
Number 12, we hosted our graphic designer, Adam Weedman, who did the logo in This Isn't Arby's. Oh, and Shannon Weedman. The other half of the Weedman clan.
Some really great pickle talk in this episode.
They were hungover.
Very hungover.
They were very hungover.
They also, I didn't think, they showed up and they thought we don't really take this very seriously. I could tell that they were ready to walk into like a little ho-hum operation.
Yeah.
And they were a little surprised and like, oh shit. Okay,
Here's a circular table. It's drilled. There's microphones and Adam Weedman, amazing job on our logo.
Amazing.
We said this before, but both with Adam's logo and with the theme song from Scotch, when we got them, we both thought, I didn't realize I wanted this until I saw it.
This is what it is.
But this is what it is. And we got so lucky with what those guys did. And I really want to get some JJ Meets World swag, like some apparel.
Yeah, like some mouse pads.
Yeah, well, like stuff for us to wear, though. Like,
yeah,
I want
like
hoodie.
a mouse pad stapled to a shirt.
Number 13 was Living to Complain with our good friend, legal professional Rachel Hoffman.
The first episode recorded in your apartment for our brief stint where we were using your apartment.
That was right after I left the poker gig, so we didn't have the studio there anymore.
If there were to be some lost episodes of JJ Meets World, it would probably be the apartment episodes.
Yeah, but they're not lost because they're totally available. We actually only have one lost episode, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But also in this episode, just as I'm reviewing the summary here, you get really pissed off about a Taco John's incident that fills a solid 10 minutes.
Oh, I get so angry.
All right, moving on to number 14. JJ Meets World with our friend Jason Jacobson, who has the same initials as your first name.
This is one of my favorite icons you ever created, where you took the Punch-Out logo and you put Jason and I's face in it. One of the best.
We got to have Jason back in because I think, it was tough to record stuff in my stupid little tinny apartment. And we had some really great guests, and I'd kind of like to bring them back in the new studio at some point.
A little bit of background knowledge. We'd have to turn off Tucker's fish tanks and turtle tanks as well as his air conditioning.
Yeah.
So it got so hot. And then he had these little neighbors who would be like banging and putting their little pig noses on the window.
And it sounds like we're in a lunchbox, like in an aluminum box.
Yep.
All the reverb off the wall.
Like a lunch lady podcast.
Number 15, the one and only, The Alabaster Disaster.
Yeah, with Sabrina.
Artist, folklorist, writer, model, and performer, Sabrina Hornung.
So here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you what part of this episode, but if you listen to it, there's a part where Tucker and I genuinely learn something that kind of shocks us and excites both of us at the same time that we did not know about.
Oh, yeah.
And then immediately after the episode, we're like, did you know that? I didn't know that. Oh, my God. So see if you can pinpoint that moment.
Yeah. Number 16, I actually ran into this guy at the restaurant that I ate at right after I got here. Patron saint of vinyl with Dean Sign.
And we've collected Dean's wife as well.
Yep.
This episode...
what are you, the collector?
Yeah.
Like, you must be part of
I
my
want
collection.
a husband and wife collection. I must know everybody's spouse.
One down.
Have we
five to
started
go.
with a wife first and then done a husband? Because we might seem sexist.
Well, there have been women on who are married and we have not had their husbands on. So like Dana Del Val, we've had her on.
Oh, and we want to get
Maz on. So that'll definitely do that. We've had Sarah Watson Curry on. We want to get Joe Curry on.
Do we want to get Joe Curry on?
I want to get Joe Curry
I'd
on.
rather have their baby.
I just want him to rub his beard against the microphone.
Okay.
Number 17 this is one of my favorite titles, Dickensian Cinematic Universe. And that was with our good buddy Punch Gut.
Yeah. I still love, that's when you had the idea of this little, like, what was his name? Like poopy pants.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about. I can't remember what his name was, but he was an orphan boy in Dickensian.
Who would poop his
times.
pants? He was an orphan, but he was a wealthy orphan.
Yeah, he was an orphan who had inherited a lot of money.
Yeah,
and he had adopted an orphan as well.
That's right.
He was an orphan who had an orphan in his care.
We need to flesh that one
Little
out.
Orphan Potty Pants, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I have to go back and listen now. I forgot about Potty Pants.
This episode also...
Potty Mouth Potty Pants. That was his name.
Potty
Mouth Potty Pants. Oh.
So
I miss him.
At this point, if you go back and listen to that episode, he talks about doing custom artwork
That's number
for
17.
Drecker.
Yeah.
And this is before Brewhalla opened.
Right.
Now, this stuff actually exists and
That's
you can go
right.
see, and it's mind-blowing.
We got to get the Brewhalla people on here.
Yeah, Jesse and...
That'd be awesome. Number 18, the return of Greg Carlson in Uncle Puchinsky.
Mm-hmm.
That name comes from, we don't really ever reference it in the episode itself. And one of the things that I delight in having control over the post-production of this show is that I really just get carte blanche to name the title whatever I want. And it's just up. And it's just up. That's the title after that. And I mean, I should consult with you. I don't. And anytime if you're like, you need to start consulting with me because I really hate these titles, we'll work it out. We'll figure something out. But Uncle Puchinsky used to be his Gmail account. That was the first Gmail account he had. So I always used to call him that. But we had him on and really just talked about his life in love for film.
I also ask for his top 5 in 3 genres, and I nail 3 genres that he hates. Like buddy cop movies.
And Star Trek films. Yep. And maybe court dramas or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that you hit every one he hates. All right, number 19. We got to start crunching through. We got a lot here.
Yeah, let's go.
We got number 19, Casting a Spell with our good friend and the assistant director for Santaland Diaries, Monica Brown-Ecker.
Who tells an amazing story about... she's Polish, and
Yeah.
she talks about being in Poland, and she tells an amazing story about how awful Americans are.
We have not had her husband on yet.
No.
Yeah, so that's
There
another.
we go.
That's another one
There
of those.
we go.
That's another
I
one
like
of those
it.
that I thought would be good. But that's a really, really good episode. And but Monica became one of our favorite people as we worked on Santaland. Monica's awesome. Number 20, our good friend Shelley Fink and Her Broad Shoulders.
Yes, that's a good one. In fact, I've invited Shelley to be a guest on again for an all horsey episode. ponies, horses, Shetlands.
Yeah,
all sorts of
equestrian. It's an
stuff.
equestrian episode. I dig it. I dig it. Dig it like a
Maybe
spigot.
even, you know what's funny is she loves horses, but she does not care for My Little Pony.
And we should also say by this time we're back in a studio now. Dickensian Cinematic Universe was the last of the apartment series. So after that, our sound quality goes back up again.
Because we're in our actual JJ Meets World studio.
Exact. Number 21, Swedish culinary archaeologist with Renaissance man and Viking enthusiast Tim Jorgensen.
Who actually was a part of the Vikings organization, the Minnesota Vikings NFL organization.
He also organizes the Viking Festival at the Yemkomst in Moorhead every year. And
I saw him at the Norse Kustfest in Minot.
He's also a kick-ass bass guitarist. Used to play with the Keller brothers.
And he wears lovely hats.
And he is a lovely man with a lovely mustache. Number 2, Why Isn't the Bread Rising? With stand-up comedian Fred Bevel.
Oh, that's a fun one. He's got a great story about rooming with Jerry Seinfeld and talks about working on cruises. And he and I get into like what the comedian apartments are like.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
He's another one we definitely have to ask to return. Number 23, after Britta's, this then became the most downloaded. This beat her in about a week or two. Number 23, The Trials of Phil with Phil Goodell.
Who tells the story of why he got divorced. Many people who know Phil do not know that he was once married. This is an episode that's very popular with high school students.
And it ties in with a Neil Diamond concert. That's a crucial part of the story. And I think every time we've had Phil on, I think he's got a big enough network of people who are interested in Phil's life that they always tune in, which is awesome, which means we should have him on a lot more often. Number 24, this was our least downloaded for a while. I actually don't know where it ranks now. And this had no guest. This was the first just you and me, which might have been part of it. People are like, we want the guests. We don't want just you two jokers. So that means maybe this episode's going to bomb, but whatever. The Parable of the Dirty Magazine.
I don't remember this one.
So technically in this one, you are the guest.
Oh, where you interviewed me.
I interviewed you.
So I am the guest, and I'm the least downloaded episode.
But I believe for a while it was, but I think it was because of the title. The Parable of the Dirty Magazine sounds like an episode you can't play in the car with your family. But a lot of our episodes you can't play in the car with your family.
I get real in that episode. Like there's no holds barred. I talk about stuff that I've never spoken about publicly before. So
big time. But
download that episode.
Just to make you feel better, though, when we do the one where you interview me, that got even less downloads.
Oh,
so
hooray!
Don't even worry about it. Number 25, Support Local Art with our good friend Dana Delval, who's the president and CEO of the Arts Partnership here in Fargo.
We get pretty heated in that one. At least she and I do about why aren't you supporting arts?
You know, that was also when we were still doing intros that were 12, 15 minutes long. And so when she posted it on social media, she said, you have to get past, I think it was something about sweat socks.
Yeah, the first 12 minutes, and then I start.
And then it's me. We've gotten a little bit better on that.
We try and keep that to 5 minutes or less now.
That we don't always hit that, though. Number 26, Freshly Baked Muffin with Tequila Mockingbird and Miranda Madsen, members of Fargo Moorhead's drag troupe, the Hot Mess Harlots.
That was a fun one.
They were cool. I have yet to go to a drag show, but I think I need to do that because drag shows are popping up in town just like breweries now.
Are they?
I think so. I mean, there's a drag show all the time. It feels like in the area.
I'm looking for I show up with my race car, and I'm always disappointed.
Number 27, Rebel Toy Box. Episode features collector extraordinaire Ben Larson.
Yes, one of my favorite. And we also want to get Ben's brother Joe because coming up, Tim Larson is a guest, and I'd love to collect all the Larson boys.
Yeah, we consider that the week of the brothers Larson because the following 28 Smooches is Tim Larson. And yeah, we that was the first time we ever did any improv stuff in the show because we end it by doing a 10-minute improv with the three of us. And that was a lot of fun.
And Tim talks about making the 305, which started off as this filmmaking short that got picked up, and all of a sudden they're making a feature length of it. He talks about his affinity for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's some really fun stuff in Tim's episode.
Tim is one of the funniest people in the area.
We should get Tim's wife.
Absolutely. Cambria is da bomb. Diggity. Number 29, Frustrated Fowl with actor and librarian Pamela Strait.
That's a good one, too. We talk about Bozo quite a bit.
Our first librarian.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have multiple librarians.
We have multiple librarians. And didn't Sarah Watson Curry work at the Moorhead Library at one point?
She did.
So she's not an active librarian, though. I think it counts if you're actively a librarian, not you were previously a librarian.
So if you're a veteran of the library arts, you do not count as a librarian.
If veteran means you've retired from it, you've moved on, I don't think it counts.
Okay.
Unless you are appearing in the capacity as a former librarian, talking about that subject specifically. Number 30, Chef Wendell went cinnamon crazy. Jeffrey Knight of the Creative Studio Serial.
Who I still use his pencil when I'm nervous. I shake his pencil during episodes.
Number 31, Sauerkraut Stomper. That was Rachel Gaynor talking about growing up on a family farm where the food you ate was a way of life.
That one is great because she gives not only a love for sauerkraut, but for rhubarb and with the braided apple bread.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You two made a real connection over sauerkraut.
We really did.
On that one. Number 32 became one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite episodes. It's the F5 Project with Adam Martin. That one was real. That was one where I really felt like I came away with some changed perspective. And I really had no idea that something like the F5 Project existed. And when he explained how it worked, I thought, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. And it's been successful so far, which is awesome.
And from the time we recorded that episode to the time we're recording this episode, it has grown leaps and bounds ever since, including launching their own podcast because of his experience here.
Hey-oh, number 33, the return of Bill Brooks in Tesla Time.
Where we got to drive an actual Tesla, bitches.
So part of the episode is recorded inside of his Tesla as we drive around.
The first time we've taken the show on the road.
Number 34 was then an undertaking. We were hitting it out of the park, man. Alex Rydell, that guy is awesome. He's a funeral director. He's also a brilliant violinist, and he was great, and he's been a friend of the podcast ever since then, and he's definitely got a return. Number 35 was our very first all-improv episode, Marriage is Always Going to McDonald's.
That was a good one. That was fun. That was Kevin Kennedy, Britta Nelson, myself, you. Is that it? I think that's it, right? It was just the four of us?
Yep, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good one. Britta and I have a wonderful chemistry back and forth when we improvise, and when we play couples in improv, oh, it just shines, and that's a great episode.
Number 36 was Hello Sugar Plum, Crystal Cassette.
Oh, who brought us the best treats anyone has ever brought?
Yeah, she's the proprietor of Sugar Plum, which is a dessert shop.
No, it's a desert shop.
It's a desert shop. A dessert shop and bakery, and it specializes in pies, cakes, and cookies and other baked treats. And she had some stuff here at the Apt Arts Market. They were these apple cider donuts. They were
for our
amazing.
Merchandise. We can have her create a signature JJ Meets World dessert dish.
37 Akron, South Dakota with Dan Cash.
Oh, Dan Cash, who's my boss at my job that actually keeps the lights on at my house.
Woohoo, Dan Cash. Thanks for keeping
And his
JJ
dad
employed.
listened to a quarter of the episode and turned it off.
Good job, Dan Cash's dad. Number 38 was Barbarian Woman with our fellow apt space dweller Emily Viewig, who is who is a local poet.
And is one of our Patreon sponsors as well.
Yeah, she's been awesome. She's been a real supporter of the podcast, and she did some really great work. You should check out her poetry. 39, Mozzarella Stick of Facts with Ms. Chelsea Ewan.
Oh, that was one of my favorites because while we were doing the episode, she's actually gathering information so that she can write a story about us for the local paper, which hangs up in the office.
And that really helped with a big spike and got us a lot more audience members, and it was just really... And then she's become a friend. I mean, Chelsea is a big supporter of the podcast, too.
Chelsea's the bee's knees.
Chelsea is awesome. Number 40, Trollwood News at Noon, the return of Greg Carlson for his third appearance.
I think this episode got the most feedback I've received about one, where people said, oh, it was so good. It was like a time capsule. And I've enjoyed that. Of course, if you don't know what Trollwood News at Noon is, this one is going to go right over your head.
Yeah. If you didn't go to Trollwood at all, it's going to go over your head. 41, Natty Bumpo. I think you know who the guest is.
Yeah, Natalie Deutsch. That was a good one. Natty Bumpo is the story of a true American hero, and I've called her that ever since high school. This episode's fun because we make fun of Natalie a lot during the episode, and she just kind of takes it.
It's just a punching bag.
Yeah.
Number 42, What's Your Beef with Missy Teeters, my sister from another mister,
Yeah.
who I often call Misty Peters.
Misty Peters.
I just always have.
Interesting.
I say, hey, Misty Peters, and she goes, fuck you, Tucker Lucas. That's pretty much our greeting every single time. She's hilarious. Number 43, Murder, She Wrote stops World War II, and that was with the legendary Bob Harris.
Oh, yeah. Bob is a guy who actually was doing podcasting before podcasting was a term, and that episode's fun because he also tells an amazing story about Mr. Rogers using a payphone. That is, it's worth a listen alone for that whole thing.
Yeah. And then 44 was Tucker Meets World. That was the one where you interviewed me. That might be our least downloaded. I'm not positive. But I'm not going to take that personally because we got those big podcast bucks coming in. We're just sitting on a big Scrooge McDuck pile of fat cash now, right?
We're going to do an episode just talking about different brands of pants I like. And then hopefully that'll help us get some money.
I'm going to pronounce this one wrong, I think. Number 45, The Preposterous Pedagogue. You're
the one who named it.
We watched The Nutty Professor 2.
Oh, yeah! Actually, no, we watched the first one. It's The Nutty Professor.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And we do a live commentary, so you can sync up The Nutty Professor with this, which is still playing on HBO Go.
I think that means we have to do The Nutty Professor 2.
I would love that. I've got some real insight into Eddie Murphy's performance, which I think he was robbed of an Oscar for this performance.
46, King of the Monsters, Mr. Mikey Sunram.
The gentleman who brought the most material in than any other person. He had books and CDs and toys.
He's a Godzilla super fan, and we were talking about big monsters the whole time. Number 47 was where we completed the Greg Carlson, Katie Smith collection. We got Katie Smith in, who is a social worker who also has excellent musical tastes.
And she tells an amazing story about eating a snake's heart.
And she's one of those people who they come in and they go, I don't know if I know what to even say or to talk about. But the whole time it was effortless with her.
Yeah.
She's an amazing conversationalist. And I know that her kids listen to that one. So what's up, Forrest and Violet, if you're still tuning in? I don't think you are, but go to bed, kids. It's probably too late, whatever time of day it is.
Stay up, kids.
Number 48 was Apartment Wrestling, the return of Noel Scotch Anderson and a whole handful of people.
That's right. We had Frisky Business, Holly Handfuls, Bo Frazee. So we had a lot of great people here. And then they invited me, of course, later on that week to sing the national anthem at their live Apartment Wrestling. And the next one's coming up in February, I think.
Excellent.
So that was fun.
49 was Glob Lessons with Nicole Rodenberg and Colin Frober, who are a filmmaking duo.
That film is currently shooting right now in North Dakota.
Yeah, just Google Glob Lessons, Glob, Glob Lessons, and you'll see it. They've been doing tons of press, and they're doing really good. Number 50 is also one of my favorites, Pretty Duckies, with fellow podcaster Rebecca Larson.
Oh, that was a good one.
She has a podcast about the Tudors dynasty called Tudors Dynasty Podcast, but it's really good. I like it a lot, and she's a really cool person.
Yeah, she was someone who, when I asked her to be on the show, she was like, me? And I'm like, yeah, you have way more followers than I do. So
absolutely,
we'd love to just glob on.
Absolutely. Alex Davey joined us at number 51 for Will Row Hood. Alex works at Fantasy Flight Games as a game designer and goes back to high school with JJ and I.
And Alex delves into what it's like to design a Star Wars board game, like an actual licensed Star Wars board game, as well as just some of the fun stuff he's done over the years. Talk about somebody who's got creativity. My gosh, that guy's amazing.
So we talked earlier about our Burning Man episode, and number 52, Sizzling Swain, is the follow-up. We hear about how Burning Man went.
That was a fun one, too, because Mike talks about having a bunch of this tubing and creating this sort of like whisper system.
And you and I have a very deep discussion about pancakes and waffles.
We do.
And that's right. We want to do our waffle episode.
Yep.
That's another one we got to do in 2019. Let's make sure that we do some resolutions for 2019 for this podcast at the end of this. All right. 53, Catholics. Phil Goodell and Kevin Kennedy return to talk about the Catholic faith.
This one, I've had a lot of feedback from people saying, it's nice to hear a frank discussion from someone who has a family and somebody who is pretty much the person you don't expect to be a devout Catholic.
Right.
Somebody who's in his mid to late 30s, single. I find this one to be fascinating because for the most part, I get to just listen to them talk and have a discussion.
Number 54 is called Heavy Metal with my good buddy, heavy metal aficionado Tony Magnol.
Who brings in an actual axe, if you will.
Right.
And does a little like boom, 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 boom.
It was awesome. He actually breaks down what makes it a metal chord, and it makes sense. And I think metal is not something that I listen to almost ever. Every small once in a while, there'll be something from that genre that I'll listen to. But when I'm hanging out with Tony, who's a huge metalhead, and he kind of breaks down for me like what's happening in a song and gets me to listen closer to it and hear the progressions and stuff, it's actually really intricate stuff. It really is. But because there's so much distortion and because it's so loud and fast and brash, most of the time we kind of, someone who's not a metalhead will kind of just block it out as noise. But if you allow your ear to catch it, it's actually pretty complex, and I think it's pretty cool. Number 55 is a free bucket of fried chicken, and that is our second all improv episode.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun one too. I remember this one. So we included Phil in this one, Phil Goodell, and I believed we recorded this right after the Cat Licks episode too.
The same day.
So if you listen to those things back to back, it sets a really fun tone in your mind.
We did another no guester because you and I decided just to talk one-on-one about what I think is the greatest holiday ever, Halloween, in number 56, The Tale of Stingy Jack.
Yeah, I talk about this Tale of Stingy Jack, which is this old-fashioned story. Why turnips were originally used as jack-o'-lanterns.
We also get pretty argumentative over whether The Nightmare Before Christmas can be classified as a Halloween film or a Christmas film, or both. I think it could be. I think it could be put in both. If someone has a Halloween party and they put Nightmare Before Christmas on, you're not going to go turn that off.
I would.
Really?
The bulk of it takes place on Christmas.
But so much of it happens in Halloween Town.
So, if a bunch of stuff happens in Philadelphia and you're this is the greatest story about the Big Apple.
Number 57 was Tricks the Congregating. We had graphic designer Brian Helleving on. He works at a chainmail company called We've Got Mail, spelled differently, but I don't feel like spelling it right now. And but he also talked about his time in Japan spent judging a professional magic tournament.
Yeah, and this guy sold some magic cards so that he could have a down payment for a house. This episode blew my mind.
Brian is an awesome dude.
Yeah, he is.
I've known him since, I think, 7th grade. And he's always been someone who's just a deep well of knowledge on a lot of really interesting topics.
Having him as a guest really upped our nerd cred, too.
Absolutely. 58, Moon Salutation, with executive director and co-founder of Theater B, Carrie von Winterstein.
That one was fun, too. That's the one where I found out that her husband, who was the guest on episode number 4, Dr. David Winterstein, didn't really want to get into theater. He wanted to be a park ranger.
I know.
So it really gave me some great ice-breaking moments with David.
And we talked about Zenas Bear earlier, number 59, Selling Melons Without a License, the lawyer Zenas Bear.
That one, I think, is just worth a listen to. It's one of those things that you do not want to listen to if you have just speakers at work, because we do talk about botched circumcisions.
Which is a primary focus of his legal work.
So this is a headphones episode.
But it's also another one of those episodes that really made me think.
Me too.
And convinced me that if I have a son, I'm not going to circumcise him.
It also makes me think about how much I want to try raw milk.
Number 60. We made it to number 60. We're like,
did.
Oh my God, we got to 60. Long Live Print with Andrew Jason, who is the editorial director for Spotlight Media.
And is one of our biggest fans as well. So that one I feel is amazing because, gosh, the people at Spotlight have been really good to us.
Yeah, they're killing
really,
it too.
really nice.
They put out a fantastic product. I like what they do. So now we come upon the lost episode.
Yep.
Number 61.
The one episode that you can't find.
And I actually don't have it listed here because I'm looking at our Patreon page with its list. I believe the title is something along the lines of Willing to Serve, or it's about those who serve. And it's about the National Guard in town. I don't know.
Jason Copley was our guest, and the top brass asked him to ask us to take it down, and so we did. We've had a couple people who've requested it, but for the most part, we're keeping it under wraps. If you want to find out what this is, you probably should give to our Patreon account.
Well, I wonder, Wouldn't that kind of defeat the purpose of protecting him with his bosses? People can pay for it and then hear it.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. Well, who knows? It still exists. It still retains its episode number.
Maybe we'll put out a redacted version of this that just uses chime. So it's like, hello, welcome to JJ Meets World.
Monkey sounds. So number 61, it retains its number. It is not deleted. It is not gone from history. It's just merely lost with quotes in the air. Number 62 was Captain Midnight with the one and only Doug Hamilton.
Oh, so much fun. Doug Hamilton also, because he's such a radio professional, I said, so Doug, tell me about yourself. He goes on a 15 to 20, it's like 20 minutes, where he fills it in. He goes, this is my life, and this is what I did, and this is how this, and that's how I progress here. And it was like, this is amazing.
He's a media legend in the FM area.
Mm-hmm.
Number 63, Hatchcast with the biggest personality in the FM realty game, Mr. Eric Hatch.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun one for us to sit down. And Eric also gets real about it, too. He's always someone who's open about sharing with, who he is and his failures in life. He really, I think, like, when he sat down with us, I thought, this guy, should have his own podcast.
He's one of the many people who get real with us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. We're getting better about getting that guard down earlier in the episode, too.
That was also, I remember, the thumbnail for that one. I just had no inspiration, and so I just copy and pasted his face a bunch of times in like a line in the clouds.
I'm sure he loved it.
Because I just couldn't think of what I needed to make. I had some thumbnail block. Number 64 was Seeking the Muse with writer and reporter April Knutson.
Another fun one. And April left 2 days after that and then got engaged.
Oh, she did.
She did. She got engaged while she was on a European extravaganza. She's got a fun story about growing up in South Dakota too on a farm, and yeah, I liked that episode a lot.
And then number 65, we became buddies with these two in Comfy Wearable Art. We had I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Kayla, but Cote Van Rensburg and Pete Van Rensburg are the proprietors of DAC & Co.
Yeah, who just crushed it with their pop-up shop at West Acres, the mall. And now they wave and they're really nice to us. And I feel like
there are apt
very
neighbors.
famous.
We've had a lot of apt neighbors on, and they make a really great product. And then number 66, far and away our most downloaded episode, the Santaland Diaries. That was you, me, and Monica.
And we talked about creating it, what it was like to do it. It became just a smashing success in the FM area. Thank you to everybody who attended. And if you didn't, tough.
It's gone. It's not a movie. You don't get to record it. 67 was our second librarian in Loyal Order of Water Buffaloes, Ms. Lori K. West.
We have a wonderful Flintstones discussion. That's where the title comes from.
I think Lori is just awesome. Just in general. She is so cool. And when she was...
She talks about parenting, too, which I like.
And she was a subject of the documentary that Greg and I had made about Dean Syme, her husband. And I remember just talking to her off camera when I was getting to know her. And she's talking about how she likes to knit and crochet, like a lot of Midwestern moms do. And then I would be like, hey, what kind of music do you listen to? She goes, I like all sorts. I really like the Bastards. And I really like, and she starts listing off these just epically awesome band titles. And I thought, this lady rules. And we got to have her back on too. She's got a lot to talk about. 68 was the return of guest Greg Carlson for his fourth
Holy
episode
smokes.
in Excelsior, where we dedicated to Stan the Man Lee, who unfortunately passed away this year.
This is a fun episode for anyone who likes comic books, and if you don't, I think you could probably get something out of this episode from three guys who are pretty even keel, and none of us smell like a basement.
Number 69 was Nope with Bill Lempe.
Oh, yes.
Who is on the part of the Fargo Talks Fargo duo with Matt Charpentier. So he's a fellow podcaster. He also has worked in marketing, and we named it Nope after his response to the North Dakota tourism logo.
Yep. Nope.
All right, JJ, we're in the home stretch here, man.
I love this. This is like a walk down memory lane.
We're in episode number 70 now, right? Mm-hmm. And this is episode 79 that we're speaking in. So number 70 was a hard day's work. This was another one-on-one where we talked about our jobs, like our history as workers in different professions. And I think between the two of us, we've maybe had 30 jobs.
Mm-hmm. And some pretty messed up jobs.
Let's see here. Going along, number 71 was Mother of the Year with Emily Brooks.
And you said you have a question.
Yeah, so I need to confirm this, but this will connect to Toby's episode a little bit. But when I was looking through Toby Jones's Tumblr for some images for his thumbnail, he had posted a YouTube video of an old TV commercial in Fargo for prom wear. It's like a really super cheesy one with a bunch of young teens, and like we're talking early 90s. I swear to you, Emily Brooks is one of the people in that commercial.
Really?
But I can't confirm it, and instead of asking her directly, I'm bringing it up in this podcast. It might not be her at all, but how about this? Once we're done, once we go off the air, I'm going to pull it up, I'm going to show you, and you can tell me if you think...
Because she and Bill met at UND, is that correct?
Is
that what you said?
I think so.
Up in Grand Forks?
I think so. But I'm pretty sure it's a Fargo commercial.
Sure. But I'm just saying, like,
right.
So it's not like she was living in Arkansas at the time.
Right. She probably would have been in the area. And I don't know the exact year that this commercial was made, but it's old. It's a standard definition commercial. Emily is awesome. Number 72, The Traveler with master photographer Dan Francis.
Oh, and Dan brings in some... This is our first interactive episode where we send you to a website. We have you watch The Nutty Professor in one. We have you go to a website in this one. Who knows what we'll make you do in the next year? Some crazy shit.
So I've said along the way here, that's one of my favorite episodes, and that's one of my favorite episodes. Here's my favorite episode, bar none. It's number 73, appropriately not safe for work, with Davy Brunsfold.
Yeah, you loved this one. You were crying while you were editing it.
You were crying, and I was crying while we were laughing so hard while he was telling a story that we had heard before. But it's so good when Davy tells it.
He's such a showman.
It is one of my favorite stories.
It's a story about poop.
It's so good.
It's about poop and photography.
If anyone's ever wanted to embarrass their father, you should listen to that episode.
This is the good one, yeah.
That's the episode for you, number 73. 74, though, this one's also a killer. It's Baggies and Pam.
Yep. Baggies and Pam is the one where we get punked.
That's right.
If we find out that we've been punked for months.
By Brent Tholomew, who is actually our friend Dave Ranow.
He crushes that one.
And we're also joined by his girlfriend, Afton Benson, who does a deep dive with you on Dungeons & Dragons, which may be a little jelly. I want to play Dungeons & Dragons real bad. 75, East Side of the River with one of our favorite people, Sarah Watson Curry.
She was such a bubbly guest to have on.
Sarah Watson Curry is a ray of sunshine. She just is.
We talked about what it was like to work at the Fargo Theater, to be a downtown kind of personality.
She's currently a member of the Morehead City Council. She has power.
Real power.
Real power, which corrupts. Number 76, I was so happy to do this one, Uncle Baseball, with my uncle, Paul McDonald, who is a sports radio personality.
And also a huge Star Trek enthusiast. So half the episode is baseball and half the episode is Star Trek.
That's another one that we could have gone for another 2 hours.
Easily.
And hey, tell us if you ever want us, audience, to do longer episodes if the subject matter is good. We've been kind of reining it in at an hour 20, roughly, give or take.
That's like the longest episode we've had, right?
I think so. Something along the lines of that. Maybe an hour and a half we did. We might have done a 90-minute one once, but I'll have to go back and check.
I mean, Nutty Professor to the Clumps is only 82 minutes
That's
long.
true. Last two before this one, number 77, A Christmas Carol.
I loved this episode. You did a wonderful job editing this episode.
Thank you.
So we took a 1939 radio script version of A Christmas Carol and we read it cold. No one practiced their part.
Did it.
And you could tell.
And there were parts where we're like, shit, they're female characters.
Hello, Father. See, why didn't you do a female voice?
Because when I do girl sounds, they sound kind of like this.
And then just the beginning of this week, end of last week, apologies, number 78, The Real Toby Jones.
This one has one of my favorite intros because I talk about the actor Toby Jones. And I don't think Toby was expecting that. I love surprising people.
JJ, we just summarized 78 episodes in under an hour.
Well,
My throat hurts. You talk.
just goes to show you that we didn't do as much as we might have thought this last year. Here's the thing. So 2019, let's talk about what's in store for the next year of JJ Meets World. First and foremost, a live podcast recording is going to be the next big thing that you should watch out for that you can actually attend. So we'll find a space somewhere and we'll record our podcast live in front of a studio audience.
And that will be for episode 100, which will be sometime in March.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Other things to look out for, we're going to reward Patreon listeners in 2019. You guys have been awesome. You've been wonderful support to us. And here's the thing. We talk about Patreon a lot.
Yep.
Because right now it's the only source of funding that we have for this other than putting money in ourselves, which we love doing and we're going to continue to do. But helping offset the costs allow us to take some of that money and put it into areas where like we can upgrade equipment, we can plan trips to go places.
Yeah. We'd like to take this on the road, go to a couple of big cities and get some like weekends where we get people to come into a smaller makeshift studio and record with us.
Which I think would be a ton of fun.
Write a grant for it.
Oh,
could probably do that.
Can we get one?
Oh yeah, let's
Okay,
do it. We'll
let's
do
grant
that.
it up.
If you want to help us write a grant, let us know.
Another thing in 2019 is I would like you guys to tell us who you want us to have on as guests. Some of our best episodes are people who've reached out and said, I'd kind of like to be on your show, and I think I've got something to say, or I've got a unique story, or my grandmother has a unique story. Let's talk to them. I think that's a great way to find out who the guests are. The goal is for me to meet every person on the planet. And Greg Carlson's already been on this show 4 times. So let's start freshening the world up just a little bit.
JJ, if you had the ability to pick one guest you would love to have in 2019 of anyone on planet Earth who's currently alive, who would be your ultimate guest for us on here?
Tom Jones.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
I think Tom Jones is an insane... First of all, I mean, he's one of the biggest names on the planet.
Right.
Secondly, that like Kiki dance thing that took a hold for a while where people would like get out of their moving car and then like dance alongside it and then hop back in.
Yep.
And they did another thing with that, like doing the Drake or whatever. I'd like to pitch him an idea I have where you've got the run of the song "What's New Pussycat" to take off your underpants, and that can be a new viral challenge. Because people used to throw their underpants to him on stage. I think he is such an amazing guy, and his work in gospel music is amazing.
Okay.
Plus, he's a knight.
Tom Jones.
Sir Tom Jones.
Well, mine is Stephen Tobolowsky.
Oh, that's much more likely.
Yeah, but I mean, not super easy though either. I mean, he's a busy guy, but I would absolutely love to have him in the studio with us. That would be one that I think we would just not stop until we're like too tired to speak anymore.
Right.
If he's willing to do it.
You know, I believe he's making the Deadwood movie. And so we should just figure out if we can get a chance to go over to the Deadwood set.
Oh my God. Or like just set up in a hotel near it. So we know he's near. And, oh man. Yes.
Yeah. Another person who I think it's very possible that we'll have on as a guest is Kevin McDonald.
Okay.
And Dave Foley as well. So
now, these are not people that we have booked. These are like people that we're like, we desperately want to get on this show.
These are wish lists.
We cannot say that they are absolutely coming on in 2019. We
Another
have no
one
idea.
is when Carrie English is in Fargo. I'd love to finally get Carrie English on this.
She's a friend of yours from high school.
Yeah, and I think she's got some funny stories. She's also one of the most genuinely, awesomely nice people I have ever met. And so when she hit it on America's Next Top Model, I'm like, well, it's no surprise to me because she's got karma built up the wazoo.
And she's a huge success story and totally self-made. I mean, I have actually a skin disorder that she has, which is psoriasis, plaque psoriasis. And you need to take a injection for it twice a month. And she has this amazing story about how she basically worked hard enough to be able to afford the medicine that she needed so that she could try this modeling career. And then she just worked so hard and was so positive in her outlook that she made it. And now she's on top of the world. She's doing great. So we got to have her on.
It's pretty slick.
She's pretty slick. I think another resolution for the year 2019 is we want to start doing, we've been talking about this for a while, episodes with people that we're talking to over the internet that aren't in Fargo, so that we don't necessarily have to have people in the room with us. We love having people in the room with us, and that's not going to go away. But, you know, to get guests on who can't be here, we got to do a different system.
We have the capabilities on our end. Tucker is figuring out what they need to do on their end, but it's very likely that we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Also, I think that 2019 is going to be the year where we incorporate more podcasters into our podcasting.
Right.
Now, not to put the cart before the horse, but I've told Tucker I'd love to spin off and do one of these improvised episodes once a month and have them not be a JJ Meets World episode anymore, have them be under the JJ Meets World umbrella.
Right. It would probably still be the same RSS feed, but it would just be called something different, which is a practice a few podcasts do, including Joe Rogan, which was working out pretty well.
And there's great opportunities, and we're so excited. And thank you guys so much. I think if we're going to end this podcast about 2019, it should be to thank you, the listeners. Whether you listen to every episode or you've caught a handful during the last year, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being the amazing champions you've been and telling other people about this.
Right.
Like Troy, I'm going to give Troy a shout out right now. That dude does not miss an episode. And when we pulled down episode 41, was it the one that we got rid of?
61.
61. He immediately messaged us and said, like, hey, where's episode 61?
And you know what? Troy's got episode 61.
Yeah, we sent it to Troy.
Yeah, he's a special guy. We're giving him number 61. But we also have listeners like Benjamin Moan, who is a good friend of Toby Jones, and was the guy who went to him and said, hey, you should really go on JJ Meets World. So thank you, Ben. That was awesome for you to step up for us like that. And then Baggies, who totally tricked us into thinking he's an old Englishman from Bartholomew, but has been a really supportive friend. Has been listening to a lot of episodes. And
made his girlfriend listen to all the episodes and then get involved in the prank itself. So we thank you, and trust me, the 2019 is going to be the year where you get amazing content, and we could not be happier to be producing it for you.
What's your personal resolution for 2019?
For 2019, so I'm not doing one big resolution. Every month I'm doing a different resolution.
Hey.
So February, for example, is money-based. And so it's finally saying, okay, let's really look at a budget. What do you want to save for? What, do you have stuff around the house that you should be, taking out and selling?
Right.
January is a decluttering. So it's to start the year off by decluttering. And I've got 2 rooms in my house that really need it. And there's some health related ones. But if I've got an overarching one, it's I'm going to stop drinking pop.
Right.
The brown devil, as I call it.
Oh, so all sodas or just colas?
All sodas.
Good for you.
I only like Diet Coke.
Right.
But I've got to stop drinking.
Right.
It's just horrible for me. I can feel it in my joints.
Yeah.
How about you?
I've got a million different ones that I could possibly embark on. So maybe doing what you're doing might be a path I want to take. But ultimately, I want to just save some money. Just basically not be the Tucker of old who was like, oh, I need a new toy or something, some shiny new object to have. I want to save some money and be a little more fiscally responsible.
Good for you.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It will actually be fun because I've changed a lot of ways this year, especially with like employment changes and stuff. And I just feel like, I've got everything I need. I just want to put it in a bank now. Just let it grow.
So showering's not going to be one of those resolutions, or?
Oh, I'll probably get back into that at some point.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You mean these vinegar baths I've been taking haven't been doing it for you?
No. Also, side
wonder
note,
why all those girls haven't been returning my calls.
My wife washes everything in vinegar, and it's just driving me
Why?
nuts. Yeah, she's like, "Oh, it's the best thing,
No,
best." And I'm
it's
like,
not.
"No, I smell like a pickle."
No, use soap. Who cares that it's got chemicals that kill fish? I don't.
Soap kills fish.
Oh, probably. It gets into the water supply and stuff.
Oh.
Who cares, though?
I would rather just use warm water than no vinegar.
You should use soap, though, of some kind.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with soap. Maybe I'll get one of those good soaps that they say like babies could eat.
Feed it to your baby.
Wouldn't that be great if you're like, I also thought it would be smart at one point just to launch a bunch of JJ Meets World branded merchandise.
There you go.
And so not things like action figures, but like JJ Meets World feminine products.
What would it take to make JJ Meets World toilet paper?
Not much.
I bet we could get that made pretty cheap.
Okay.
Let us know what kind of swag you would like to have of JJ Meets World.
What would you like for us to give every guest? And then what would you as a listener like to enjoy outside of the realm of listening to podcasts?
Right. And we got to get on starting to make some exclusive Patreon content too once we can ramp up.
I was thinking we could launch an app that says, not to go on a tangent here, and it's and then it's like 5 or 6 different sayings that we could have, and then every month we could renew what the buttons are.
Right. Well, I want to also thank them for everyone for their support too. Obviously, if you're a Patreon donor, thank you for your support. You're helping us keep the lights on. But another way that really helps us to support us is to share this podcast with people you know. Even if it's just one episode that you think, hey, Mom, I think you'd really like this episode of JJ Meets World. Right now, we're all word of mouth. I mean, we're not paying for advertising anywhere. We don't have the budget to pay for advertising anywhere. And our audience is growing, and it's growing because people help get the word out. So that is another really awesome way that you could help support the podcast and help us grow. Tell your friends.
Also, you can leave reviews for this. And so your review is great if you can give it 5 stars.
Especially on iTunes.
On iTunes. But if you can also write a little bit about it and maybe
please.
Highlight a favorite episode,
Right.
that goes a long way. And right now we've got a 5-star rating.
Yeah, and iTunes will start to feature you from time to time if you start getting more activity on those ratings. So that would help us get out there in front of people.
Someone could start a subreddit for this as well. That would be even better.
And a Wikipedia page and a Bumble.
A Bumble. I don't know what that is. Is that like Tumblr?
I think it's a dating thing, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it's a Google thing.
Start a Plenty of Fish
I sound like
profile.
I'm 52. I think it's a Google
It's
thing.
on the internet. But I don't want to get on the internet. I want to go to my email. That's a deep cut from JJ and Tucker's friendship.
Deep cut.
Also, if you don't listen to the very end of every episode after we have our little like credit sequence, you've missed out. You could go back and listen to the end of every one of these. We have a little Easter egg, and today's Easter egg I actually recorded while Tucker was getting a drink of water. You'll love it. We should maybe do a super cut of those someday and send it out just to the Patreon people.
Sounds good.
Because it's good. But Tucker, thanks for a great 2018. I'm
You too,
really
buddy.
looking forward to 2019.
Make some more.
Happy New Year, everybody, and hoping that your 2019 is just as kick-ass as your 2018 was. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ.
I'm going to pause this for a second and get a drink of water because my throat is parched. Because there's a lot of episodes, but we're only 42 minutes in. Perfect. We're almost done with the list. And we can wrap it up.
If you Google Old West porn, you get a frustrating set of results because Google can't tell if I'm looking for porn set in the Old West or porn created in the Old West.
I'm excited to hear what that was.
Yeah, you're going to love it.